It's time for the Social Show with Viwe Tyolwana.
Social Show? Social Show.
Molweni and welcome to the Social Show. My name is Viwe Tyolwana, and for the next few minutes we're going to be talking all things CSI, CSR and shared value. Don't go anywhere. Just sit down on your desk, read your meeting schedule and listen to what you can do to change the world or contribute to our ultimate 2030 vision. Of course, if you have any queries or questions, you can go to brandlive.co.za on Instagram or on Facebook or on Twitter, and you can just send me a text or a question and I'll be happy to share it on the show, share it with the many CSI managers, the many NGOs that listen to our show currently. We really do want to be the bridge between those who want to do, those who are doing, and those who hope to do good in South Africa, in and around South Africa and Africa in general. And also, if you have any news stories, please send me an email at press@social-tv.co.za. I'd love to interrogate you a little bit further on your concept, on your idea, on whatever gap you're trying to fill in your community. I am super excited to hear all the ideas. I've been getting a few emails, and I'll be getting a few guests on the show in a couple of weeks. New experimental social dynamic young people who are really trying to make sure that they play their part and they don't just blow whistles. They actually get their hands dirty, and I think that's important to highlight. And that's what happens every single Tuesday. We speak to dynamic young people who are really trying to make sure that we are a community that is accountable for the future, accountable for our kids, accountable for our nation, accountable for Africa. Anyway, before I get too emotional, let's get straight into the news.
CSI Update.
The African Institute for Mathematical Sciences, AIMS, recently announced the first cohort of the small research grants in climate change science. Dr. Daniel Akinye of Nigeria, Dr. Lindani Ngube of South Africa, Dr. Ayisana Ayilaide of Nigeria, Dr. Adana Henry Okowa of Nigeria, and Dr. Timothy Dube of Zimbabwe, and Dr. Muhir Innocent of Rwanda are part of this group. The AIMS Small Research Grants in Climate Change is part of the Mathematical Science for Climate Change Resilience program, which is made possible by a grant from Canada's International Development and Research Centre with the support of Global Affairs Canada and administered by AIMS. The 6 grantees were selected through a rigorous review and selection process. The projects will include, among others, developing localized clean energy models for off-the-grid applications in rural communities. This will increase access to sustainable supplies of clean energy, especially because such communities usually lack access to grid electricity or are unable to afford electricity. In other news, the Biennale of Luanda, a Pan-African forum for the culture of peace as part of UNESCO's operational strategy for Priority Africa 2014 to 2021, which aims to provide explicitly African responses to the changes at work in African economies and societies. Minister of Culture of Angola, as well as UNESCO's Assistant Director General for Priority Africa and External Relation, have signed an agreement for the creation of the Biennale of Luanda, a Pan-African Forum for the Culture of Peace, whose first edition will take place in September 2019. The Luanda Biennale, organized through a partnership between the Government of Angola, UNESCO, and the African Union, is designed to promote the prevention of violence and resolution of conflicts by facilitating cultural exchanges in Africa, intergenerational dialogue, and gender equality as well. The forum is to nurture reflection and facilitate the dissemination of artistic works, ideas, and knowledge pertaining to the culture of peace. It will bring together representatives of governments, civil society, arts and culture, as well as international organizations. And lastly, in our news, the Economic Commission of Africa, ECS, launched the Africa Poverty Clock late last year in Addis Ababa as part of its 60th anniversary celebrations. The clock is a customized version of the World Poverty Clock developed by World Data Lab, aimed at monitoring progress against extreme poverty, an aspiration of the United Nations First Sustainable Development Goal, which is the SDG 1. The clock provides real-time poverty estimates till 2030 for the majority of countries worldwide. Speaking at the launch, the ECA Executive Secretary Vera Songwe said that many African countries have achieved remarkable progress over the last decades. She, however, indicated that African countries rank as some of the worst economic and social indicators. Inequality and poverty remain persistently high, with over 400 million people living in extreme poverty. Africa is home to 70% of the world's most poor people, and current projections show that all countries of the region are off track to achieving the Sustainable Development Goal SDGs of eliminating extreme poverty by 2030. The achievement of prosperity remains elusive, and there is a demand to do better. And that concludes our news for today.
When I was 5 years old, I was an annoying kid, playing all the time and asking my mom to buy me that toy or that toy. And I always wondered why my dad can do the same. Why he needs to spend his time like doing boring things, like waking up in the morning very early or coming back late at night. But you know, time has changed. From 2007 to 2012, the number of unemployed people has increased from 170 million to 202 million. And 75 million young people just like me are currently unemployed. So I guess that my father, he had an easier time finding a job. But we can change that.
My name is Andrew Lowndes. I'm the UK and Ireland Sales Manager for Presslit Care. At Presslit Care, we're very passionate about providing access for people with physical disabilities. We're very passionate about the Changing Places campaign that provide larger accessible toilet and changing facilities. It's fantastic when we can see the smile on the faces of users. That's our reward, is to see the satisfaction and the enjoyment that people have.
What? What? What?
What?
What?
What?
What?
What? Hey Sam, how's it going?
John, how funny. I was just telling my sister how inspiring it is to see you out and about. Good for you, man.
What?
People with disabilities don't want to be put on a pedestal. They are just like you and me and should be treated no differently. The disabled community is the third largest market segment in the United States, surpassing Hispanics, African Americans, and Asian Americans. But they are still searching for equality. Special treatment is not needed and is condescending.
Share your what moments. Give your voice. Seek change. For more information about sharing your what moment, visit theawarenesscampaign.com.
What?
Alrighty, as you know, every single Tuesday I try to speak to somebody who is really doing something different in their space, somebody who is contributing to our Vision 2030 goals, but more than that, who's also doing it in a way that also benefits him in some way. I believe strongly in social entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship in general, but today we're speaking to local entrepreneur Luvuyo Ndiki, and he is really taking business to the next level. He has just launched South Africa's first biodegradable drinking cup made from sugarcane and cornstarch. I wonder if you can eat it. Anyway, Ndiki, who founded the youth-focused creative events agency called Red Cup Village, is the first company to sort of reintroduce Red Festival plastic cups into the African market. I know that he's still going to launch it in the year, but we have him on the show today, and I'm super excited to have this conversation with him. Good morning, Luvuyo.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for availing yourself. I know it's quite early, and I know Cape Town people wake up at like 12. But thank you for thank you for being on so early. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Red Cup Village. Maybe give us an idea as to how you got this really, I think it's a very different take on business and business idea in general. Sort of like when you started and how you got to where you are today.
My story has always been like inspired by my life, and I actually grew up in a very small village, so with my grandmother telling us a lot of stories in terms of how to be in life, you know. So with Red Cup Village, I was basically university and as an SRC at that time after doing my product design. And one thing that I was faced with, it's like most of my fellow students at that time, there was so much divisions. Like you would find that the Africans wouldn't want to chill with the whites, the colored, and there's so much division. You find like these people, when you talk to them differently, everyone is talented, everyone has got so much inspiration that you can take from them and you also share with them. And one thing I realized in America, they've got so many diverse cultures as well, but what it uniforms people, it's through a cup. So I started doing some research on a cup. I started talking to some friends, telling people about the cups, and people didn't really understand what I was talking about. And so I started bringing cups from China, put stickers, taking pictures with people. And then people started understanding the movement of red cups. And every time people saw them on TV, we're like, oh yeah, we saw cups on TV, the whole movement that you were doing. And then from there, I started realizing, look, man, if I'm bringing plastic into the country, there's no much difference that I'm bringing for the future. You know what I mean? And we as Red Cup Village, we wanted to be different. And coming from a 3D background, there's so much innovation that I took from the future and from the past to create what we are about to launch now in South Africa.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what you're about to launch, which I think is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. So over December, for me, I was not even going out too much parties, but just focused on business, invested on 3D printers, you know what I mean? And this is something that I've been researching on for quite some time, because if you look at it, corn has been one of the things that we grow in the village as South Africans. And I always look at how possible can we take something that we have here and make it into something valuable for us to produce our products.
100%.
So I did my research and I did some trying out some new stuff, finding ways. Then once I got something clicked, I was like, look, last time I was in business, a lot of people started copying the whole red cup thing. Let me go and patent this thing. Let me take these ideas and put them there and just keep quiet for a whole year, not telling people what I'm planning. You know, and and from that, now in 2019, we're basically changing how people are going to be drinking, you know what I mean? And we want people to drink from stuff that they know that in less than 6 months, it's going to be decomposed in the environment. Because if you look at plastics last for like 200 years into the environment. And you can imagine how many plastic cups that people are drinking from, especially now over the festive season. You know?
Yeah, no, I completely understand what you're saying. I wonder how many people, especially young people, understand the concept of a a cup that's made out of sugarcane and cornstarch. Of course, like the red cup, you see it in a party sort of space or a lifestyle kind of space. Have you found that, corporate South Africa kind of gets what you're doing, or like green South Africa gets what you're doing, but do your counterparts and the people you're selling to get what you're doing?
Yeah, I think it's always been hard, you know what I mean, especially with the retail markets. They'll tell you, look, man, for us, what's selling the most is the red cups, you know what I mean? And I understand, and they're all about the business. But we are so blessed now after the news that we just had. I was just on a call now in the morning as well, talking to people from the Two Oceans Marathon as well. They also want to have the cup this year in April, you know, as one of the cups of the event, and also for me to go and do an expo there, you know what I mean? So I feel like certain people are starting to pick up in corporate, but now for me and my team, I think the biggest thing now is to get support from the government for us to buy these big machines, for us to produce in large numbers, you know what I mean? Because end of the day, right now, this has been my savings, taking from what we've made to make sure that we pioneer something new in the country. And we're really looking for support for people that are willing to say, look, guys, this is great what you're doing. We want to support what you guys are doing.
Beautiful. Another thing that you said, which I think was very important, was patenting, which a lot of small entrepreneurs don't necessarily get into. Just talk to us a little bit about that process and how it sort of solidified how confident you were in your business straight after you patented your work.
I think for me, I learned the hard way. I learned the hard way. When we first came with red cups in South Africa, no one was actually distributing it. You know what I mean? But at that time, we were still in college.
Yeah.
And when people started seeing the idea, because we built almost like 10,000 people on our Facebook page, and people started following the movement. And people with money at that time just went to China and bought like millions of cups, and they flooded the market. And that kind of like hurt us in business, and it kind of killed our spirit in a way.
Yeah.
But I was like, look, if I'm going to do it again, I'm not going to give up.
Yeah,
I'm going to come back.
Yeah.
And this time I need to make sure I'm doing it right. So I had to wait for like a year and sometimes for our patents to be approved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's in order for us to make sure we have the confidence to go out now, challenge these big corporations, because now we know we've created our own stuff. And if someone wants to license it, we could really sit on the table and talk.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we want to mass produce this and take it to the globe.
And own it and let it be yours. I'm so happy you came back and you were more innovative and you came up with this amazing cup. Let's talk a little bit about your transition, because I think I've been speaking about this a lot in the show, that a lot of entrepreneurs have sort of taken the social responsibility on themselves when they're starting a business to really contribute. And it does, play well also with corporates and funding. I wonder how you found the sort of the change between you just being a sort of an entrepreneur, local entrepreneur doing well, to turning into a real huge sort of like social entrepreneur where people are like looking at you as one of the first in South Africa to bring a biodegradable cup that's made out of sugarcane. I mean, that's such a big shift between just doing business but also doing consciously good business. What was that like for you as an entrepreneur in your journey?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, I've always, Yeah, for me, always had like that confidence, that look, I'll do big things, and I understood. Look, if one door shuts, the other door must open, and 100%. That's one of the mentalities that I also have on my side. And I believe, like, look, there's big opportunities, and I always tell people this. I don't see Red Cup Village as just another brand that's going to be just locally. I see this as one of the big brands that can challenge the likes of Facebook, the likes of Twitter, the likes of Instagram, based on what we're going to innovate.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So this is just the first of innovations that we're just bringing.
Yeah.
And right now, it just shows that there's a lot of opportunities in the South African market, which you find most corporates from America, they see this, they're way ahead of us. They see and they take the opportunities and they close the patents.
Yes.
And once we start waking up, we are late. You know what I mean? And we just become people that are working for big corporates from America. You know what I mean? So for me, it was a matter of like, look, if I really want to make a change, I need to make a change in the economy. I need to make a change in making sure my people that I went to school with, I can create jobs for them. You know what I mean? Because a lot of graduates that are graduating now, they're always waiting to say, look, I'm looking for a job. I'm not saying that is a bad thing. I also went out and looked for a job when it's tough times. But I realized, like, look, it's now or never. If I don't do it now, I'll never have another chance to do it. And I just went for it.
Definitely. And lastly, if there's anybody you'd reach out to, whether it be a corporate or someone who's a funder of, projects or any kind of thing that you sort of manufacture, who would you sort of want to speak to and why? And what would you ask for? Because I think there's also a big change where entrepreneurs or young entrepreneurs are not looking just for money. They're looking for resources, they're looking for things that they can use. And I wonder who you would need at this point of your journey to sort of accelerate the work that you're doing.
I think for me now, what's important thing is for me is to talk to the president of South Africa. The reason why it's important for me to actually have a sit down with him is because we want to open international doors, because anyone now any corporate that's here in South Africa, I understand everyone is going to start, if they're not aware of what's happening in terms of biodegradable, they're going to be informed. But I think for me, it will be more important to speak to the president of South Africa because we want him to help us open international doors, you know what I mean? And to say what exactly can South Africa as a government offer to young people that are bringing up innovative stuff that will shape the future of this country.
100%. And if anyone knows about international markets, it's him. Thank you so much for your time, Luvuyo. I really hope everything goes well for you. I'm super excited to see the cup. I'm super excited to drink from the cup. It's launching when? In May?
In May.
In May, okay. You'll give us a date, I'm sure. We'll just keep in contact with you.
Definitely.
Is it going to launch in Cape Town, or is it going to be official launch somewhere?
Right now, with the whole funding, we want to launch it in the whole country. We want to do like specific launches in the major cities.
Yes.
So that will also be based on the funding that we get throughout the whole way. But we're confident that we want to launch it throughout the whole country.
100%. I hope so. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That is local entrepreneur Luvuyo Ndiki speaking to us a little bit about his business and taking business to the next level as he launches South Africa's first biodegradable drinking cup. I love Red Cup Village because it's not only just one of those brands where you look at and you're like, oh man, this is for the youth and I don't really get what's going on. They really have expertise as to what needs to be done to further the market, further expand the market. They really, really want to come up with things that can franchise. They want to open up international markets. They want to get into the business side of things. And I think it's important that we do send all of our support as Corporate South Africa, as CSI managers. If you really want to look at where social entrepreneurship is going, these are the kind of guys you need to be talking to. Luvuyo Ndiki, who also called out the president to speak to him a little bit about international markets, and I think that's exciting. Very exciting. So the cups will be launched in May. We'll keep you informed on social TV as well on the social show. I definitely will keep in touch with Luvuyo. But yeah, we'll take a short break, and after this, it'll be things to remember.
Imagine that you have $1.25. In the United States, you can have 5 bags of deep cheese and a pretzel. In London, you can have an instant soup. In India, you can have 2 steamed rice cakes. In Ghana, you can have a small box of chicken and rice. While you're imagining the tasty smell of that chicken and rice, 1.3 billion people around the world only have $1.25 to survive per day. They don't have a choice, but you do.
My name is Andrew Lowndes. I'm the UK and Ireland Sales Manager for Presslit Care. At Presslit Care, we're very passionate about providing access for people with physical disabilities. And we're very passionate about the Changing Places campaign that provide larger accessible toilet and changing facilities. It's fantastic when we can see the smile on the faces of users. That's our reward, is to see the satisfaction and the enjoyment that people have.
Okay, so I don't know about you, but during the festive season, I was bombarded by what my friends like to call the most horrible thing to ever exist in all of, literally in all of the restaurants that we went to, which was the paper straws. Now, a lot of people have been giving me and texting me and telling me about paper straws and how much they hate them and how soggy they get after 2 sips. And I can't say I don't agree. That's why people are having sort of metal straws, but also who wants to be carrying a metal straw all over the city? I mean, it's kind of awkward. But there's a huge plastic straw ban happening everywhere in the world, and it's quickly gaining momentum. Large companies like Starbucks, almost all the restaurants I went to, actually, from Mug and Bean to specific Spurs, all you're gonna get is these sort of cardboard straws, and it's actually for a good cause. So we're gonna take a short listen to why we are currently going through the reign of cardboard straws.
Why are straws a problem? It's a global crisis, something that affects us all, and something no one wants to talk about.
This material that's essentially designed to last forever for products that are meant to be thrown away after a couple of minutes.
You know what? It's never gonna go away.
We've grown this culture around throwaway plastics. Just use it one time and then throw it away.
Less than 10% of the plastics used in the world are recycled.
They end up in landfills. They end up in our oceans. Or worse.
32 million tons a year, which winds up in the environment, and about 8 million tons winds up in the ocean. That's the equivalent of 5 plastic shopping bags filled with garbage for every foot of coastline in the world.
Straws cannot be recycled, most definitely. The fact that one straw stays in the environment for over 200 years and you use that straw for maybe 5 minutes?
Every day there are enough straws that get used to wrap around the entire planet twice.
There's a straw right back there. 8, 9. There's one. Now the real irony of all this is there are trash cans all along. Double whammy. You get a straw that's in its own wrapper.
And this is what we collected floating in the water.
What happens to plastic when it gets in the environment?
That can get eaten by fish, and then we eat the fish.
I think we have to stop talking about recycling so much. We need businesses, we need government, we need individuals to change the way that we do things.
Because we have the power to change facts. Every time we suck on a straw, we're sucking the life out of our oceans. We must change now.
It kind of freaked me out when I found out that we have producing enough straws that could potentially go around the planet or go around the world over twice. That's ridiculous. And I think it's very important that we know why we aren't using any more plastic straws, or why restaurants have really hopped on the bandwagon. And you know what? At the end of the day, we really need to think about the fact that every small change can really result in a bigger change. So if this happens sort of a little bit more aggressively around South Africa, as much as we hate these cardboard straws, we'd rather have that. We'd rather have something that is easily recyclable than something that stays for years and years in the country, and it's only used for in the world actually, and it's only used for so many minutes. So if you don't know anything about why the plastic straws aren't coming up in any of the spaces that you go eat and drink, this is why. And I definitely think it's a good start. It's a good start to really trying. And I know straw bans alone won't solve every single thing that we have, every problem that we have, but I definitely think it's an amazing start. So yeah, get your metal straws or suck it up or drink from the glass. Better yet, do that. Drink from the glass. And you won't die. I promise you. You will not die. And that concludes our concludes our show for the day. Amazing conversation with Luvuyo Ndiki, who's the MD of Red Cup Village, an amazing man who's doing so much for his community, but also doing so much for the environment. I really do commend you. Also, let's stop buying plastic straws. It doesn't solve anything. And if you are in environment work as your CSI, and that's where you want to go, let's look a little bit into that and look at how we can maybe invent something that's different, that's not necessarily paper or cardboard, something that's going to stay a little bit longer, and it's not necessarily metal. I'm sure there's something we can do. I mean, there's a whole cup that's made out of cornstarch. Could we not do the same for straws? Just thinking outside the box. But anyway, it's been amazing. I'll be back again, same time, same place, only on the Social Show on Brand Live. See you today, tomorrow, with another interesting guest and another ploy to save the world. Goodbye.